Here we go. All right, here we go. Link in the chat, YouTube link in the chat, and mute yourself here. Go on to YouTube. Let me know that you can hear me. I'll see you guys there. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, first things first. Make sure you guys can hear me in the chat, and please let me know so that I'm not just talking into thin air. In the chat, all right, appreciate it. So you should be able to hear me because I can hear me, and that's that. All right, so we've already kind of gotten the intro to sampling, right? But it's not just that you can sample in Ableton, it's that you can create your own instruments. I kind of alluded to this before, and there's many different ways to create your own instrument, right? I've already talked about instrument racks, where you can layer multiple instruments together. I've talked about how you can take samples and manipulate them in crazy ways. I've talked about synthesizers, where you can take fundamental tones of sound like sine waves, sawtooth waves, square waves, and manipulate them to create new sounds, right? So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of sound creation in Ableton. And that's why actually a lot of people, especially sound designers, are moving over to Ableton. Especially like game audio, like game sound designers, like they're falling in love with Ableton. It's fantastic. So just like a really, really, really quick review of of Simpler, let's just go ahead and record some basic words. Let's see. Make sure my input is set. Record enable. And let's just do it to the metronome. Let's set it to this. Fuck. Omicron. What? Bitch. COVID. Fuck you. Okay, so let's just record some random words, right? If I wanted to make samples out of these, you guys already know the editing tools needed. So I can actually just cut these up, right? Command E to cut the different words out. And I'll just do it quickly because you guys already know how to do this. Boom, boom, boom. All right, let's get rid of all these. And there we go. We got a bunch of words that we can actually sample. Now, just for the sake of simplicity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a MIDI track right below this, go to my instruments, and load up the Simpler plugin, right? Remember, Simpler is a very, very basic sampling program, right? It's basic, but it's still pretty powerful, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load that up, and then I'm going to grab any one of these samples. Let's say, fuck you. Oh yeah, I forgot I had all these kinds of effects on it. Let's get rid of those. Fuck you. And get rid of all these reverbs. Fuck you. There you go. Fuck you. Yeah, this is how you fucking teach a lesson, boy. All right, so now I'm going to grab this fuck you, and I'm going to drag it into Simpler, right? I don't want to... There you go. So now, if I have the Simpler track over here, and I record enable, and then I press key on the keyboard, fuck you, right? Specifically, I'm pressing C3. So C3 is actually the note that indicates the original sample. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Now, if you want to change the size of the sample, you can do further editing within the Simpler program, right? So you see these two flags at the end. You can drag them to get it a little tighter. Fuck, 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 fuck you. Fuck, 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 fuck you. Right? Man, this might not work. This might not end well for me. So you have this ability to sample, to trigger samples with your MIDI keyboard, right? Now, if you start to pitch up and down, if you start to play notes that are higher and lower, the pitch will change of the sample, right?
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Right? But you might have noticed that as I went higher in pitch, it sped up. Listen. Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Right? So what does that remind you of? That's what happens in traditional audio where speed and pitch are connected. Now, if you want to disconnect them, all you have to do is click on this little warp button down here. And now, fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Right? So the tempo is now the same, but the pitch has changed. Now, it's a little glitchy because we're on the beats algorithm. But if we change it to complex, let's just do complex.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Right? So you can change it up while still retaining tempo. Change the pitch, while still retaining tempo. Right? And then we had one-shot mode where you just click on it once. Fuck you. And it plays the entire sample. In classic mode, it only plays the sample for as long as you have the note held down. Fuck you. Right? If I let go in between, fuck. As soon as I let go, it stops the sample. That's how I can do all those little glitchy things. Fuck you. Right? And then finally, you have slice mode, where within the simpler, you can further slice up your sample. But remember that the first slice is assigned to C0, which is like 2 octaves down. Right? Right? But every note above that is a new section, a new slice of the sample. So this is C0, D0, C0, C sharp 0, D0, D sharp 0, E0, right? So as you go up the scale, it plays different sections of the sample. So I'm going to stay in classic mode. Now, another thing that's cool about this simpler program is that if you click this little arrow right over here, you can see the sample loaded up, but then you have all these options, just like we did in the synthesizer, to modify the sound. So, fuck you. Now I'm going to set this on loop so it just keeps saying it. Fuck you. Fuck you. Now I can EQ it. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck I can set an LFO on it to make it like kind of glitchy. So if I set my LFO to a, say, square wave, and then I do it for volume, 100%, and I put the rate at 16th notes. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck and I'm just holding the note down. I'm not doing anything else. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Right? And then you have your ADSR curve if you want to shape the sound a little bit more. So you have all these different functionalities available within the simpler program, which is really, really cool. But this is only one sample, right? I just took one of these words and then just loaded it up onto simpler, and then I'm able to manipulate it all these different ways. Usually when you're sampling, the idea is not just to, well, I guess you can have a situation where you just want to sample like a producer tag or like certain other things, but typically what you want to do when you're sampling is you want to create your own instrument, basically, out of it, and assign each sample to a key on your keyboard or a pad on your drum pad, right? That's where the idea of drum racks come into play. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this. Make a new MIDI track. I don't know why I did it that way, but it's my life. It's now or never. Now if I go to instruments, instead of going to simpler over here, I'm going to go to drum rack. Okay. Now you can also access this by going to drums and going to drum racks over here. But as soon as you double click drum racks, you see this loaded up at the bottom. Now this looks very familiar, right? This looks like the pads to a drum machine. And that's what it's going to allow you to do. The cool thing about drum racks is that you have all these notes which map to your MIDI keyboard. So C1 is obviously C1 on your MIDI keyboard, and you can scroll through all the different layers, right? On the left side, you have all the different octaves available. So you have the 6th octave, C5, right? C4, right? All the way down to whatever you want. Now I'm going to go up to C3 because that's usually where actually I'll just stay fine. I'll just stay C1. Where is that? Okay. So, anyway, you have all your keys accessed over here, and you can scroll up and down as you need to. But now what you can do is each one of these keys can be assigned to a sample, right? A sample or an instrument. That's a key distinction. So we'll get into the instrument side later, but a sample. So for example, let's take that fuck you again and load it up onto one of these notes. So let's say goes to C0, right? As soon as I dragged it onto C0, you see what it loaded up at the right side? What does this look like? This looks exactly like simpler, and that's because it is exactly simpler. So I assigned C1 to this sample. So now if I press C1, if I can reach it.
Fuck you.
Oh, is it not C1? Oh, C0. Fine, my bad. Why is it doing this? Fine, C1. Oh, I didn't record enable on fucking... Well, I can't say that word.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck
Right?
you.
So now you have one sample that's assigned to C0. Sorry, C1. You can take another sample, load it onto the next key. Right? Say over here.
Fuck you. COVID. COVID. Fuck you. COVID. Fuck you. COVID. Fuck you. COVID.
Right? And you can go on and on and on until all these pads are loaded up. Now again, even within this drum rack, each pad is a simpler plugin, which you can load a sample into. But then, like I said, you have all these modes to choose from, like classic mode.
Fuck you.
Right? And then you can also add your filters.
Fuck you.
Right? Or you can add your LFO so you can pan that shit.
Fuck you.
I don't know if you can hear that. If you're wearing headphones, you'll hear it.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
That shit sounds trippy.
Fuck you.
Or you can do pitch.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
The fuck, man? Oh, this shit's crazy, right? So you have all the different flexibility, all the flexibility that you had before, you have it within a drum rack. So it's like you're layering a drum rack within an actual, a simpler within an actual drum rack. To have loop playing in the back. So when somebody is making a mix, they just assign certain audio while having a loop play out in the background. Not sure exactly. I didn't understand the question. If you can rephrase it, that'd be great. So that's the idea of drum racks. It's pretty dope, right? But that's like a basic introduction to it. So let's have a little bit of fun with drum racks. Let's say, yeah, I'm going to do it in this view. Actually, no, I'm going to stay in this view. Fuck it. Let's go back to instruments, go back to drum racks, right? Now, let's actually make a drum kit. Now, if you're in Ableton or if you have your own samples set up, you can actually start building a drum kit from scratch. All I need to do is go into my samples and look for... Yeah, I don't know if all these samples came with Ableton or these are just the samples that I own. I assume it came with Ableton. I'm not a big sample guy. So let's find a kick drum. Let's do that one. Kick electronic 2.aif. I'm going to drag that, place it on, let's do, let's do C3, right? So put it on C3. Actually, that's going to be confusing for you guys. I'm just going to choose. I'm going to suffer so that you guys can enjoy. Put it on C1. So now if I play C1, of course. All right, let's, there we go. Right? There you go. Now the first kick is assigned to C1. I can change the sample if I want to, like the size and stuff. I can warp it if I want to, but in this case it's not really a big deal because we're using a multi-layer. And then you can also start EQing it. Don't like that. Yeah, fuck EQ. It's all good. And I don't want to fuck around with the pitch envelope, so I'll just leave that as is. But there you go. Got a kick drum. Let's find a snare. Snare. Let's see. I like that. Assign the snare to D1. I might actually change that kick drum because I like the snare better. Yeah. Let's do that. Right? Got snare. Let's see if I have a rim shot. Nope, don't have a rim shot. Do I? That's like a side stick. Fine. Side stick on D sharp. Let's do, and then let's just do hi-hats to keep it simple. So hi-hat. Okay, we'll do closed on E, open on F, and double open on G. So okay, so now we got a full drum kit going. Obviously I'm terrible at playing drums, so I'm just going to record it real quick. Let's do this. It doesn't matter where. Dude fucked up my vibe. So let's go ahead and just loop this real quick. Hey, what's up, Brian? We're on YouTube. Link in the chat.
All right.
All right, so here we go. Got our little thing quantized. All right, here we go. Now, if we want to add hi-hats, you guys already know how to do that, right? If I hit the plus sign, that means I'm in MIDI overdub. So now if I hit record, that. Let's see what I got. Ah, fuck. 30-second notes, baby. Actually, I like that. All right. Okay. And then you can keep going on and on and on, right? You can add more and more layers. But then the cool thing is you can take those samples that you had before and then add them to your drum rack. So for example, got G. Let's say I'd take, go back to the drum rack, please. Let's G, A sharp, B, C. Right, I'm just dragging each sample and assigning it to a new key on the drum rack. So now I got a whole drum kit within these 16 pads. What? Right? And you can also obviously, like I said, trim these out. Fuck. You can also use them. Fuck. Omicron. What? Bitch. What? That's my favorite. That's my favorite one. Bitch. COVID. Fuck you. There's my one. Fuck you. All right. So now I'm just going to actually crop these so that it visually looks like bitch. You know, I've always wanted to be able to say bitch the way rappers say it. They just got that fucking bass in their voice when they say that shit. Like, bitch. I wish I could do it. It's got, I'm like, bitch. It's got that breath in it, you know? Fuck. And I'm getting... if there was ever a video for me to get canceled on, this might be the one, baby. Right? And again, like I said, you can always fuck with these with filters and LFOs and stuff. I'm not going to do it for now. But now that you've assigned all these to a drum pad, you have a whole instrument full of samples, right? So even though you have your regular drums, you can now record on top of that. Fuck. Bitch. Fuck. Bitch. Fuck. COVID. Fuck. Omicron. Right? You can just go on and on and on with that shit. That's why I love it. I should actually record something, right? Fuck you. Fuck you. Omicron. Fuck you. Fuck you. Bitch. Fuck you. What? COVID. Fuck you. Bitch. All right, anyway, fuck it. So you get the idea. You can have a lot of fun with that shit, right? So let's go a little deeper, right? Now, if you click on this little option over here on the drum pad, you'll actually see all your samples loaded up in descending order, or rather ascending order, right? Because it's first note all the way down to the last note. And you can trigger them just by hitting the play button. Fuck, right? You can also mess with the volumes. So we already talked about how you can do internal mixes and stuff, right? So this way you can turn certain levels up. I think one of them, like, fuck, Omicron. What? Bitch. See, bitch is soft. Bitch is soft. So you can turn that up if you want to. Bitch. Or you can pan it. Bitch. What? You can do what? What? Bitch. Fuck. Right? You can pan them the way you want. You can solo, mute them, whatever you want to do, right? It's really, really cool. But the one thing that I wanted to show you is... let me actually get rid of all the fucks and the bitch shit and stuff. What I wanted to show you was... okay, so now if you go to your I/O section over here, it actually expands your view of their samples. Now, what you can see is the receive note, which means that once your drum rack receives C1, then the kick sample will be played, right? So that's basically what we did before, where we took each sample and assigned it to a key, right? It just tells you which key you assign it to. But then after that, it says what note the sample is played at. Now remember, it's not exactly the note of the sample, but rather the original sample is always assigned to C3. If you remember from the simpler thing that we discussed, whenever you load up a sample into simpler, it's always assigned to C3, right? Now what you can do is, since simpler also allows you to change pitch and speed, you can pitch shift within the drum rack. It also means you can play different keys within the simpler within the drum rack. It's pretty insane. So for example, I mean, this will make more sense when I explain it. So let's take Omicron, right? Bitch. COVID.
Fuck you.
Omicron. Right, let's take this. Omicron. Right now, it's receiving, I'm playing A#1, so that's when it plays Omicron, right? Listen to Too Short. Okay. By who? Not sure who that is or what that is. Bro, no, fuck all the songs in the world now. I don't care about any song anymore except Island Boy, right? No, what I care about is that back in the day, you and me, baby. I can't even do it. All right, so I'm playing A#1, Omicron, and it's playing the sample Omicron, right? Now remember, this sample is loaded up into a simpler plugin, right? Omicron. And that's how we're playing it, and that's how you can also filter it out. Omicron. You can add distortion. Omicron. Right? You can add all kinds of crazy shit to it. But then the other thing that you can do is this, remember, in simpler is assigned C3, but if I pitch down over here, right? So say instead of C3, Omicron. I'm like, let's go down to E2.
Omicron.
And then if I click warp here, bitch. That was a total fluke. I didn't actually mean to do that, but hey, sometimes the stars fucking align. Bitch. Right? So you can actually pitch shift, or rather you can play a different note of the simpler or of the instrument within the drum rack that you created. It's pretty fucking epic. Now, the last thing that I want to show you guys, actually, there's two more things I want to show you. One is that, remember that this idea of racks that Ableton has is really awesome because you can start adding multiple effects after the actual instrument or after the actual sound. So, for example, let's take that. What? No.
Omicron.
Yeah, let's take Omicron.
Omicron.
So, if I wanted to say add a flanger to this, right? It's not available on the built-in effects of the simpler. I can still go to my audio effects, go to my pitch modulation, and then drag this flanger and put it right next to the simpler. Now, you got to be careful. It's got to be within the rack. It can't be outside the rack. It's got to be in the rack. And now,
Omicron.
You can hear it, but...
Omicron.
Right?
Fuck.
But it's not affecting anything else.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Omicron.
Bitch.
Right? And then you can add... Let's add something else to this. Let's add fucking... delay. I'm so sorry. I just haven't done that in a long time. Was that a fucking delay to this shit?
Bitch, 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 bitch,
Omicron.
bitch, bitch, bitch,
Omicron.
bitch, 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 bitch,
Right?
bitch.
So that's a delay on the actual sample. So for each sample, you can add a plugin that affects only that sample. You can change the pitch of the sample. You can change the actual clip, like the actual slice of the sample. You can add LFOs to the sample, right? Like, fuck. Fuck you. If we take that fuck you sample again and go to the LFO section and then say, okay, I want to modify. Fuck you. Let's do volume. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Right? Fuck you. Add an LFO volume-wise. Fuck you. Fuck you. Right? So you can add all kinds of crazy shit and make your own instrument, each sample being assigned to a key on your keyboard, right? On your MIDI keyboard. It's pretty epic. Now, one more thing I want to show you is the choke feature. So this is very, if you're a drummer or if you write beats like drum beats, this is very important to you guys. So what we're doing now is we're able to play multiple notes at the same time and the samples just overlap, right? So if I play two notes, like if I play,
Omicron.
fuck you. If I play both of those at the same time, fuck you, right? You'll hear both of them.
Omicron.
Fuck you.
Omicron.
Right? It'll play all of them at the same time. But specifically for drums, and you guys know this, when you're playing hi-hats, right? You usually don't allow open hi-hats and closed hi-hats to play at the same time because it just sounds really unnatural. A hi-hat is either closed or open. That's just how hi-hats work, right? So if I play something like this, right? Closed, open, closed, open. But if I play them at the same time, or if I have them overlap, let's actually do this. Let's actually record hi-hats again. So I'm gonna get rid of all this. All right. Right now, this is it's not the biggest deal in the world, but if you wanted to make sure that both closed and hi-hats cannot be played at the same time, use something called the choke feature. So if you see over here, it says choke, and then there's like a bunch of pull-down menus for each sample. What you can do is you can assign multiple samples into the same choke group. So what do? You have hi-hat closed and hi-hat open over here. What you do is you put them all into the same choke group. Now I'm just going to choose the number 1 randomly. But what that means is that they can't both play at the same time, right? So what happens is, as soon as the hi-hat is played, or rather, when the hi-hat plays and I start to press the next note, it chops off the sample, or it stops the previous sample. So check this out. If they weren't in a choke group, right, it's playing an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat underneath. So, right, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So the best way to do this, I gotta actually get rid of these. I didn't play it correctly. So hopefully this makes sense. Right, you see how the hi-hat, the open hi-hat, is still playing as the closed hi-hat is playing? So that doesn't make sense, an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat playing at the same time. Right? It's a little distracting. What you want to do is make sure they're all assigned to the same choke group, and then right? So in a sense, you're kind of creating a monophonic sample set because they can't be playing at the same time. But essentially, that's what a choke group is. It's really, really useful if you're into like making proper, awesome drums. All right, let's see. Maybe I'll do one more thing. So you might have noticed these things called macros, right? Macros are nothing special, but they're really, really useful. Basically, you can assign any knob that you can think of to a macro. So let's just take a basic example of, what am I doing? Where's that Omicron thing? What?
Omicron.
All right. So suppose I wanted to assign this frequency.
Omicron.
I wanted to assign this to a macro. If I just right click on the frequency button, I can map to macro 1. Right? Now you can see that when I change this, it changes the frequency. Right? You can also map multiple fucking knobs at the same time to the same macro. So let's say I want to let's assign this to macro 1. Right? See how it's changing both at the same time? So macros are really, really useful in that way where you can, because look, instead of having to always look for these individual knobs and then map them onto different knobs on your MIDI keyboard, sometimes you only have like 8 knobs. Like I only have 8 knobs available, and that's how most drum racks are set up. But now you have 8 macros to where you can assign a bunch of different parameters to the 8 knobs in the drum rack, which can then be mapped to the 8 knobs over here, right? I don't know if it's automatic. Yeah, it's not automatic. But there you go. So if I just hit MIDI, boom, map. Now I just do this and it changes both, right? I can also say I added a flanger. Maybe I can assign this to macro 1 as well. So you see how it's all changing. Right? Pretty badass. Change multiple parameters at the same time. Now, another thing that you can do with, let's see if I can. Okay, so if you go to the map feature of your macros, right? I've already said that you can assign different things to your macros. Actually, I want to assign one more thing. Let's do the pitch. So you can even assign the pitch. I think you can, right? Oh, I really thought you could. I was so sure you could, so I think I might be doing something wrong. Oh, there it is. Transpose. Map to map. All right, pretty fucking badass. Now, if you go to the map feature over here, you can actually see your minimum and maximum values for each parameter that's mapped to the macro. So for example, you saw that the pitch was going like super extreme, right? If you go to the transpose, it's gone like, you can go 48 cents up and 48 cents down. But what if I'm like, you know what? I only want the pitch change to be really subtle. So how about I just go from 4 to 4, right? That's my range. Fuck. Actually, it's got to be a little bit more for you guys to actually hear it.
Omicron.
Right? Whereas if it was all the way back there. So you can change the range, the minimum and maximum values of each parameter. So it's not like all of them have the same minimum and maximum value, right? So I don't like it when the filter goes all the way down. So now it will only go that far, right? Same, let's say with LFO. Let's do this. Let's do that. So now we have a lot more control over our sample. Right? Fucking badass, dude. I fucking love it. I think this is one of the greatest DAWs ever. So fucking cool. Incredibly powerful, right? So yeah, pretty wild, right? That's a drum rack for you. And everything that I did with that one sample, you can do all these samples. And you can add your own plugins and everything. And we already talked about automation of clips and automation. This program is so flexible, and it's so easy to be so flexible. That's what I love about it the most, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's what I got for drum racks. Let's take it back to Zoom.